Sound like some Viking music, don't it?
Yeah, gotta get it out the mud, that's the only way to win. Who am I to point the finger like I never ever seen? Been through the ups and downs like the letter N. They don't let you through the door, better kick that again. Cause that's the only way to win. That's the only way to go. Gotta get it out the mud, gotta get it out the flow. Cause that's the only way to go, let's go.
Shooting lights out. Oh boy, it's the third month of the year. It is the month of March, and you know what that means. Madness is on the horizon. Oh, it's gonna be great. Man, first of all, let me thank y'all for taking, really taking a look at what we did last week. And when we talked about our South Carolina take, because that video, when I cut that video, I did not expect close to 3.3 thousand views on that video particular alone. So I just want to thank y'all for that, because I just thought about, man, do we want to take South Carolina? Do we want to take the field? And that video took off. I did not expect this. So I just want to thank y'all for that. I'm going to see if I can top that today, because that's going to be kind of difficult. But nevertheless, I'm not alone today. For the first time on season 2, because she was with me on season 1 last year, and we was talking about all women's basketball, including WNBA. Had to find the right time to get her on. This is the perfect time to do so, because we are in the month of March. Ladies and gentlemen, the queen of hoops herself, Miss Megan Price. What's up?
Hello.
Welcome to season 2.
How are you?
I'm good. There's a lot of
Good,
things
good.
happening in our favorite sport, and it's been
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been a little under the weather this week, and I appreciate you working with me. And almost canceled my own show last night because I sound like this. I was like, no, it's just so much going on in basketball. I can't cancel. We just got to push through.
I appreciate you pushing through, and
Of course.
it's been a crazy season in basketball.
It
Not
has.
only in college, in the NBA as well. A lot of historical things are happening.
Right.
So we go ahead and get started, and I might be joined by one more person. We shall see. But as I always like to do things around here, I gotta go with the news and notes for around the hardwood. And to begin around the hardwood, Miss Price, Queen of Hoops. Teresa Golden, the first woman to be a Power 5 commissioner. She's the commissioner of the Pac-12. I put this up last week, and I darn near want to go off script and go straight off, because I'm like, it's very great, very historic that we finally have a woman who's a commissioner of a Power 5 conference. But will the Pac-12 still be a Power 5 conference after this basketball season?
No. Not at all. I mean, it is. I would love for this to actually have some meaning to it, but it's not going to be a Power 5 team. There's 2 teams left, Washington State and Oregon State, and then you're going to have to spend the time to go and basically pillage other schools to try and join your conference, which we know this change in conferences or conference realignment. It was football driven. It was media rights driven. So ultimately, it was about money. And I think that the Pac-12 was offered. They offered each of their schools $35 million a piece, I believe, for their media deals, and they were wanting 50 a piece, and it ended up just falling apart. I don't see. I mean, it's almost like they're just placating us, putting a woman in position, calling it the Pac-12 when there's 2 teams. Like I don't know. I didn't appreciate it whatsoever.
That's why I want to go up. Like, you
Right.
made her commissioner, she's going to be a commissioner. What, 2 teams? Really, 2?
Right.
When that whole conference is already depleted as it is, it's just
Right.
this didn't feel right in my book.
Yeah, it's almost a direct slap in the face, really, to say, oh, well, we're putting a woman in power of a Power 5 conference. But that conference doesn't even really exist anymore. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot positive to say about it.
No, it doesn't. But nevertheless, she's going to do all she can. All options are open because she didn't have no choice. Like, she's taking a conference that's depleted. So of course all options are open. Hope she figure it out, and we'll figure
Right.
something out by the time football season get around here and what the Pac-12 gonna look like.
Right. I mean,
Moving
they're
on.
already down to 10 teams. So, I mean, when they went into this season and then now down to 2 teams going into next season. So I just can't imagine what they're going to do with that.
Well, all right, moving on. Of course, we got to talk about this young lady right here.
Right, right.
She broke
So,
another record in
right.
that wood yards for women in all of college sports.
hmm I'm glad that they're actually bringing up the names like Lynette Woodard and Pearl Moore as well. Those are 2 records that I think a lot of people are leaving out. And even with the Kelsey Plum record, because those other records existed and they're not being broken until, and she has a chance to break them. What day do they play OSU? It's coming up. It's
Oh,
the,
don't
that's
trust me. I got that on the slate too.
Okay,
Oh, I
so
got that on the
she
slate.
has 18 points left to break that record, which is Pistol Pete's and Pearl Moore's record, and I think it's highly possible that she does that. And then at that point, she's scored the most. Like, not to knock anything that she's done this season or the records that she broke before that, but she hasn't scored the most until she breaks those records. And I realize they weren't a part of the NCAA records at the time. They weren't a part of the NCAA, so. But those records exist, and so I'm glad that people are actually talking about that.
I gotta admit though, Pistol Pete did all this without a 3-point.
Right. Well, Pearl Moore either.
Like that's remarkable that it took
Right.
this
Yeah.
long for these records to go down,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they did it with no 3-point line.
Right.
But shout out to Caitlin Clark. And speaking of Caitlin Clark, she has made her decision. The city of Indianapolis, the state of Indiana, is rejoicing right now.
Oh, yes, they are. So WNBA Twitter is going nuts already. Talking about her going to Indiana this year. She's going to be playing with Kelsey Mitchell, Leah Boston, and Erica Wheeler. So WNBA Twitter has been eating up Erica Wheeler all night, talking about that she's probably the one that's going to be on the move very soon. We shall see. But those 3, Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin, Aaliyah, oh my gosh, that whole pick and roll between her and Aaliyah is going to be crazy. Super excited to see what they look like. Now, I know they finished the year, I believe, at number 11, not the worst, so an improvement from the year before that. But now with Caitlin, I'm sure that they're going to do really well. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, they're going to go win a championship next year. That's not going to happen. But they're going to be They're going to be in playoff contention.
So I bet everybody in Indianapolis was on pins and needles, waiting for her to make her decision because she still had 1 year left.
I was thinking that, it was kind of dependent on what she did in the tournament, but go ahead and announcing it now, I think kind of takes the pressure off. Of course, she wants to win a national championship. So there's still pressure going into, and it, being the runner up last year. So there's still going to be pressure going into this tournament, but this kind of takes some of that off. And just go ahead and answer those questions. Like, it's already done. Yes, I'm going into the draft. And I think it's the right time for her. We heard last week that Paige is going to stay with UConn for another year. Not too surprising because of her injury history. And so I think that aligns perfect for Caitlin to go this year. I absolutely agree that I think it was the right decision for her.
The only one left to figure out is Angel Reese.
Right. I think Angel, there's a few more. Cam has not said, Cameron Brink has not said if she's coming back or not. Now on senior night, she said that she's not ready to make her decision yet. And I think also that depends on what her tournament run is like. I don't think that we see Angel Reese come out this year. Or I hope that we don't, honestly. I think that she still has some developing to do. And you might as well do that right now when you're on one of the best teams in the country and you're getting paid really well to do it. So I think stay there, develop a little bit more. It's highly competitive in the WNBA. So she goes in this year, there's only 144 roster spots. Highly likely that she could get cut. We've seen first round picks get cut all the time in the WNBA. So if she waits another year, there's going to be another team already. There's going to be the team in the base. So that already puts you up at 156 roster spots right there. So I think next year is a safer bet for Angel.
All right. Speaking of the WNBA, hey, they have moved the draft to the Brooklyn Academy Music, and they're going to allow fans to attend this
Right.
year's WNBA draft.
It is usually in New York City, or one portion of it. Over the last few years, it's been in that area. I am thinking about going. Obviously, I've been invited already, but just want to make sure my money's right before I go all the way to New York City. Very glad they're going to allow fans because the way that they've and I know the reason that they made things smaller again was because of COVID, but it's time to move on and adjust to that. The fans want to be there. That's part of developing that fan base. And so when you have someone as big as Caitlin Clark going into the draft, you have to be prepared. Look at what's happening. And I'm not going to bite into your slate, but we know the type of fans that she's drawing. So, or the amount of fans that she's drawing. You capitalize on that, allow them to come to the draft.
So I'm looking forward to this, and I also the other reason why I think they did that because the projected class was Clayton
Right.
Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, Georgia A. Moore, Cameron Britt. It's a stacked class that they was looking forward to.
Absolutely. Elizabeth Kitley, Elizabeth Pile too. So like there's tons going into the draft this year that people are paying attention to. And that little bitty room that they've been filming it in is not gonna work.
So they knew this class was projected to be a top ranked class. We shall see.
Absolutely.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get a little serious here because something happened over the weekend at the Reforce, and when it happened, it sparked a lot of conversation. I'm talking about storming the court.
Yeah. This came from the Wake Forest and Duke game. They were at Wake Forest. Duke is ranked, Wake Forest is not. Wake Forest comes out with the win. Their fans storm the court, and one of the players gets hurt for on the Duke side of things. We also saw a court storming incident this year with Caitlin Clark, and I think that one brought a lot of attention as well because hers looked really serious, but it ended up not being. She collided with a fan. This now the Duke player he is injured. So with Caitlin, she wasn't injured, but it looked really scary. And I think that was something that kind of opened eyes to people that, anything could have happened. Not only could Caitlin have been injured, I mean, there's no telling what a concussion can do to somebody. You never know the level of that. Like, take Dale Earnhardt Jr., for example. Concussion really ended his career. He had to take 8 months off. Jeff Gordon raced for him, and then he came back for a few months, and that was the end of it. And I think he probably still deals with the effects of that concussion. So different people have different levels of concussions, and they come back from them differently. So now there's talks about, are they going to do away with court storming? I think you have to. And I know that sucks for the college fans because the student section, they're so dedicated to their school. The amount of money that they spend to be there at that school, they're excited. They support their teams. I get all of that. But let's say you get a 60-second buffer, right? You allow the players and the coaches and the staff to get off the court, and then you allow the court storming. Well, that's basically condoning the craziness, the chaos, right? And what if somebody else gets hurt? What if a little kid gets hurt? What if somebody who's elderly gets hurt? Like, I think you just have to do away with it. In every single sport, they're making modifications and changes, not only to make it safer for the players, but a safer fan experience as well. So it's bound to happen in the NCAA as well.
Kyle Filanowski is the Duke player. We talking about Duke's best player, by the way.
Mm.
It's interesting though, because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at how can you actually ban court storming? You allowed it for so long.
I mean, it's going to take the way I feel about it, because I was talking to a coach earlier this week on the radio show that I host, and he's a high school coach. But his comment about NCAA doing that, he said that he doesn't feel like there's any effort in deterrent right now. So whatever you have to do, whether it's putting up barricades, I don't think that you put full up barricades, but you would have to put a bar up. I mean, and I know it's different with basketball because there's courtside seating, so it's not the same as football or hockey. But you figure it out because one, that's not going to happen in an NBA game. You storm the court in an NBA game, what's going to happen? People are getting arrested. You're getting banned from the stadium. The teams are being fined, and I think that's what you start doing. Now, is it going to happen all at once? No, but you're just going to have to implement everything that you possibly can to prevent it. And like the Coach Beckner, the guy that I was talking to this week, he said that he doesn't feel like there's any effort that's being made whatsoever at this point. So anything you do going forward is an improvement because you're not doing anything now.
There's coaches that don't like it, but there's former ADs and all this other stuff they don't mind paying the fine because it's a recruiting thing that they can use.
Well, I mean, I think it'll be a deterrent now because you think about the kid from Duke that got hurt. Is that going to be something that comes in your mind when you're trying to get recruited? Oh, well, this kid got hurt. This kid got hurt from that incident, and the teams didn't do anything to help figure it out. That might affect your recruiting now. If you just try to sweep it under the rug and act like it's not a problem, it is a problem.
Oh, it's a problem. The NCAA might have to do something. I just don't know what that is the case.
I think you have to do multiple things. You have to start. I think you have to start by having more security. Now, I know that you can't do that every single time, but when you have rivalry games, for instance, Wake Forest and Duke, UNC, those three teams, they hate each other. And you could probably go ahead and throw NC State in there as well. All those teams hate each other. You put up beefed up security at those. If these high school teams know when you're playing a rival and they have more security at those games, then why can't it not happen in the NCAA as well?
That's a good point. I like it. It's a lot.
It is.
It is a lot because you're talking about something. Hey, when we know about the NCAA, they'll say the correct things, but they don't mean the correct things.
Right. And they're not hurting for money. Now, if we're talking about a D2 school, they may not have or a D3 or a JUCO, they may not have the money for extra security. But these D1 schools are not hurting for cash like that. They can figure it out.
Yeah,
the NCAA is not hurting for cash at all. So if they feel that serious about it, which they should feel that serious about it, maybe they should bankroll the extra security.
They should. They need to do something.
Right.
Because
if the university can't do it, then why not them?
Because let a star player legitimately get hurt. You're lucky because Philip Panowski did play in Wednesday's game.
Right. Yeah. No, they're lucky that it wasn't a season-ending injury. But if it was, and what would have happened if it would have been Caitlin? And not to take anything away from the Duke player, but what would have happened if it had been Caitlin who'd been really hurt? And what if it would have been season-ending? What if it would have been career-ending? I mean, what would that have done for women's NCAA basketball at the time? Like, you have to take it that serious because she's the face of it.
NCAA, y'all got a lot on y'all plates. Can y'all just keep adding to it because y'all won't make moves? So.
They definitely have more on their plate than the Pac-12.
So that's it for Around the Hardwood. All right, so we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get into some college basketball, starting with the ladies first. We'll be back.
Welcome to Ringside Chaos, the professional wrestling discussion segment of the Bear of Texas podcast. The only professional wrestling podcast in the world where pro wrestling is discussed passionately, with confidence, with great knowledge, and most of all, in the most sophisticated way. So brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because chaos is about to be unleashed. Thing with Tony Khan now being in talks to buy WWE, I'm going to be honest with you. I spoke to this with Ricky Litwinkowicz, aka the Master of Mayhem, and he honestly believes that me talking about Tony Khan buying WWE is basically I'm kind of wasting my time because Ricky believes it's never going to happen. Okay, now don't get me wrong, Ricky I respect what he says. He could very well be correct, but I got to be honest with you. The fact that Khan is interested in supposedly buying WWE, to me, that's definitely worth talking about. Now, now I should mention this. Shout out to Ricky, by the way. And I got to mention this, that even Jim Cornette already had something to say. And he said, and I quote, "Ridiculous to think that could happen," unquote. A wrestling fan that's been super supportive of Brody Lee as a wrestler and everything that WWE could have done with him and, everything that he could have shown and, offered for the wrestling business. For me, I wasn't just a fan of Brody Lee himself, like in character. I strongly respected him, as a human being. Like, I had a lot of respect for Jonathan Huber. That's Mr. Brody Lee's real name. So basically, I had a lot of respect for Brody Lee, Luke Harper, and of course, Mr. Jonathan Huber. Particular episode was about World Class Championship Wrestling. And the episode title is, WCCW Wrestling's Lone Star Legacy. And because I am the Bear of Texas, and I do hail from the Dallas-Fort Worth area of the state of Texas, World Class Championship Wrestling was basically my territory as far as being a wrestling fan goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Ringside Chaos is available on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
The Playmakers Bar is proudly sponsored by Fanatics. Fanatics, the #1 shop where sports fans across the world love to get their sports gear and fandom on. A wide selection of gears from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, the NCAA, and of course, the WWE. Whether it is football, basketball, baseball, hockey, even soccer, golf, no matter what sport it is, there's sports appeal for every fan of every sport. Fanatics, where sports fans shop and official license everything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shooting Lights Out with the queen of who's Megan Price. All right, got news and notes out the way. Let's get into some college basketball. Let's start with the ladies first. We're going to talk lady balls. And got some interesting results that happened.
Oh man, you hurt my feelings with the Texas score. Y'all know I'm a huge Texas fan. This game was rough. There were some questionable calls, but I don't think you can lean on that whatsoever. At the end of the day, you lost to OU. Now, this will not be the last time that we face OU because OU will be going to the SEC with us next year. So the rivalry continues, and there will be tons of hate.
What makes it even worse is when I get to the standings and how much this game meant.
Right. Yeah, we shall see.
You had Oklahoma State take down West Virginia. Ohio State taking down their arch rivals in Michigan. Iowa State getting a big win in Manhattan, Kansas over the Wildcats.
Right. The Kansas State game. Now, Ioka has been hurt. She did play the last few games, but they seem that they've lost a lot of steam, even with her coming back. So I don't know if she's at 100%. I don't think that they will be an easy outcome tournament time, though, and meaning conference tournament. So Big 12 conference tournament is going to be, on the men's and the women's side, it's just a free-for-all. The top 6, I would say, probably on each side have a chance to win. We shall see. It's going to be really exciting.
All right. And there ain't the only stuff that happened. Last night, Notre Dame sent the message to Virginia Tech.
They sure did. This was not just a win, but a dominant win against a team, Vatek, who has looked hot all year long. Now, there were times when they fell down in the standings, the rankings, to like 17 or 18. But if you go look at the rankings, 2 through 20, they almost all pretty much have the same record, anywhere from like 4 to 6 losses. So it's the rankings change quite a bit from week to week. But they've always, even when they were in the lower rankings right there, like at 17 or 18, they were a team that were handing out really tough losses. Now, so I think this means you have to take Notre Dame incredibly serious, and you have to give those flowers to Hannah Hidalgo, and not just her, their coach too, Ivy. I feel like for her to be able to, once she lost the Mabry sister last year, she graduated. And so this is the first time in 12 years that there's not a Mabry sister playing for Notre Dame. So that definitely, you already got a team that's going to be looking completely different. And then you had some injuries. And then you have this amazing freshman in Hannah who comes in and leads this team. They're at 17 right now, but like I was talking about, those rankings, 2 through 20, any one of them really have a chance to make a solid run in the tournament and have a chance to win their conference tournaments as well.
Even though Virginia Tech took a beating, they got some help from NC State knocking out Syracuse.
Right.
Where did Syracuse come from?
You know what? Syracuse, they have a coach. Steve and I were talking about this last night on the sip off, and their coach, and then Daisha, also Fair, came over from Buffalo. Now, Jen, one of the chicks from Three Chicks in a Pod, she was able to do the ACC tip off. And she said that she had some interactions with the coach from Syracuse and said that she was amazing, well spoken, and it seemed like she was very driven to uplifting her team and getting them to a spot where they're taking them serious there in the ACC. And I think they absolutely did that this year. Now, their star, Daisha, she was able to pass BG, I think for number 4 or number 5 on the all-time scoring list as well. So congratulations to her. I think another team that is not an easy out. Look at their record right there, like we were talking about, 23-6. Now NC State, they were a Final Four team a couple of seasons ago, and have fallen off a little bit this season. But they're still, look, they only have 5 losses. So, and it went to overtime. Like, that's how tough these teams are. Even though there's some spreading there in their rankings, 12 to 19, like they're still very similar tiered teams, and neither one of them is an easy out. Excellent battle.
And then Cameron break.
Woo.
And Stanford needed every bit of that show from Miss Brick because they came out with a 4-point victory in Corvallis over the Oregon State Beavers. And I don't know what it was, but I was like, I think one of these shows I was doing, I was preparing, and I kept looking at Oregon State, and I'm like, they just knocked out.
Right. And then they had that really tough week a couple weeks ago where they had to play both of the California schools. They had to play UCLA and then USC back to back, and they ended up beating both of them. They came out 2-0 that week. And so take them serious. Like, I think that 11
they
right,
came
right
out
there.
They came out 1-1.
Oh, excuse me, 1-1.
Juju, the supporting cast around Juju wasn't having it.
Okay. But take them serious. Like, I know that they have 6 losses, and that might seem like a little heavy, but look at the competition that they have there in the Pac-12. And while y'all have a chance, when we're talking about this, make sure y'all check out. Now, I guess they're still going to have the Pac-12, which is crazy to me, but in reality, this is going to be the last Pac-12 tournament. To me, that is the toughest women's basketball conference right there. All the time, you got to play Stanford, UCLA, USC, Utah, Washington, Oregon State, Oregon. Like, that is really, really tough for the regular conference season for them. So I'm watching Oregon State come tournament time.
So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, by that NC State knocked out Syracuse, Virginia Tech wins the ACC title. Of course, we knew last week that Ohio State won the Big Ten title.
Right.
And I don't think nobody had Ohio State winning the Big Ten title.
I knew that I figured that this last game that they would be fighting for that, but I mean, OSU already got it. I think that Elizabeth Kitley, like that whole crew over there, they're just really dominating, and they look like a true number 2 seed or ranking team for me. They're definitely a 1 seed right now, and I take them that serious.
Yeah, sorry, Creamy Hoops, but that L that you took that Norman gave the Sooners the Big 12 title.
Yes, it did. But I will say this: we are the reigning defending Big 12 champions right now. So it is ours to lose, in my opinion. It was in Normand. And this is one of those rivalries that it does matter. It doesn't matter how bad OU is or Texas is. The doesn't matter what sport it is. It matters where you're at, and anything can happen. So if it's a home game, maybe. But I mean, you might be able to upset them on the road, and clearly they upset us on the road. I think that we are the far better team, but not that night. Clearly,
Nope. So OU takes the regular season Big 12 title. We all know who won the Big East title. I mean,
right? It is what it is. Even with all the
it
injuries,
speaks for itself. We all know who won the Pac-12 title. Yeah, I mean, somehow, somewhere else gonna come out and talk about it. And we definitely know who won the Southeastern Conference.
right? Yeah. Now, I think going into this season, we thought that LSU really had a chance, and not that they've played bad. They have a great record, but there's just not SC. But that doesn't mean, like as we saw last year, that does not mean that they're going to automatically win the tournament, or even win their conference tournament. 2 years ago, Kentucky beat them. Now that's not going to happen with Kentucky this year. They don't have Ryan Howard, and Tennessee was, I think, beat them a few years back as well. But that's not. I doubt that happens this year. But you never know.
And Don State on a mission. Okay, Caitlin Clark put Don State on a mission.
Yes.
And that mission,
for a fact. And the thing about SC that I think a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about is she lost 4 players to the draft last year. Like, this is a complete recalibration. Like, she still has a couple of players from last season, but this is a whole brand new team. And look at the way that they're still dominating. And in fact, to me this year, and no knock to Aaliyah, but I think they look more dominant this year.
You just echoing what we was echoing last week. That's why I did the segment. Are we taking South Carolina? Or are we taking the field when it comes to South Carolina?
Right, yeah.
Because they more dominant this year with no star players.
Agree. Well, I mean, they got Pow Pow. I feel like she's definitely a star.
When I say star, like you come in, you know who to look at.
Right.
We ain't know who to look at in South Carolina. It's just Don Staley. You the head coach. We know who you are. So we're going to see if you up there with Gino and Emma, Pat Summit, and that crew.
Put her up there.
Oh, she's up there. No style playing. They was destroying everybody. Now the last couple of games have been close. But I'm pretty sure they probably tired and whatnot.
I think they play down to competition sometimes.
But for 90% of the season, they were smacking everybody.
Right. Yes.
So, but we have our regular season winners on the women's side. Next up is conference tournament. But before we do that, when I saw this, I said I gotta talk to Megan about this because this here is ridiculous. The Big Ten women's tournament is sold out for the first time, and they are expecting over 109,000 people in attendance.
It's insane. I loved it when I saw it. Obviously, I shared it. I mean, it's huge for women's basketball. I love it. Gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling right there, and I feel like this is an example to the WNBA. You find a way to show it, and people will watch.
So you got the face of the college up there on the top left with Caitlin Clark, and then at the bottom right, you got the team who actually will be the 1 seed going into the Big Ten tournament in Ohio State. It's a win-win because everybody know who Ohio State is.
Right. Oh yeah.
And everybody definitely know who Caitlin Clark is. So.
Right. Yeah. No, it's gonna be epic. I mean, I'm looking forward to their last regular season matchup, which will be their last game. It'll be in Iowa. OSU took the first one. Obviously, it was in Ohio. I would love for Iowa to win the last regular season matchup, and then for this to be those two teams to be the championship game, and that to be the tiebreaker for their matchups this season. I would love it. I hope it works out like that.
But the Playmaker did a little extra for the people, okay? Because I'm pretty sure you're on the run. Where are these conference tournaments being held at? I took the liberty to find out for you, okay? So you have the ACC that's going to be beginning on March 6th to the 10th, and that's in Greensboro, North Carolina. The Big Ten, as we just talked about, that will be taking place the same dates as the ACC, and that's in Chicago. So that should be fun.
Absolutely. I love Chicago, so I'm sure that's going to be a fabulous stage for it.
Miss Megan Price, your Big 12 tournament is on the 7th through the 11th. It's taking place in Kansas City.
Yes, indeed. I think Kansas City has a lot of hype going for it right now. I mean, obviously they had this Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl this year. Now we're gonna have to let's be honest. You're gonna have to have heightened security. It is what it is. We know what happened at the Super Bowl parade. You're just gonna have to have heightened security. And then, but I think that the Big 12 tournament is, like I said, between the men's and the women's, it's a crapshoot. It's anybody's guess because there are some underrated teams like West Virginia. Now they're ranked 25th this week, but I think that they're an incredibly tough out. They have a chance to win the women's tournament. OU is really good. Texas is really good. Baylor is in there. So I think that any given night in that tournament, anybody has a chance.
All right. The Big East is going to take place in Connecticut as per usual. I don't think they ever left the state of Connecticut.
Right.
March 8th to the 12th.
It's basically like home court advantage for UConn.
You can put that Big East tournament anywhere, and UConn will still probably beat everybody.
Right.
UConn went to the American, they dominated that conference, went back to the Big East and continued to dominate them. Can't nobody stop Geno Auriemma when it comes to conference play for whatever reason.
Right, yeah.
The Pac-12 will take place March 6th to the 10th down in Viva Las Vegas.
I love it. That's a drivable distance for all those schools mostly. So I expect tons of fans to be there. Who doesn't want to go to a tournament in Vegas, you know?
And of course, the ACC is going to take place where it's always taking place at.
Right, yeah.
For the women's March 6th to the 10th down in good old Greensville, South Carolina.
It's like you said, it always takes place there. It's familiar for them. No surprise.
And just to tell you on, we have our bubble watch thanks to Charlie Green, who updated his on today, which I was waiting on for the longest. As you can see here, you have the last four byes of Marquette, Michigan, Green Bay, Maryland. Last four in Kansas, Auburn, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. First four out, Texas A&M, Arizona, Washington State, Penn State. And the next four out, Villanova, George Mason, St. Joe's, and Arkansas.
I think Kansas is interesting this year. They are a team that it's inconsistent, kind of similar to the Lakers. They're winning games that you don't expect them to win, and then they're dropping games that no way they should be dropping them. So Kansas is that wild card for me out of that group.
And then as they do for bracketology, they give me the top 16 teams. They don't even do this with the women. They don't even do this with the men.
No, they did it with the men this year.
They did. Oh, I'm saying they usually don't even do this with the men, but
they usually don't. But they did this year.
Your top seeds going into this weekend are, of course, South Carolina, Ohio State, Stanford, and they put UCLA. That's the fourth number one seed.
Yeah, that's the only one that I don't necessarily feel like should be the one seed. They will do anything, and I love Tara and her program. I do. I love watching Stanford. Y'all know I'm a huge fan. More than anything, like I'm a Haley Jones fan, so I loved watching her and Cam together. But they will do anything to make Stanford the one seed. And then Texas always has to play them in that region, and that's always who puts us out of the tournament. And sure enough, we're gonna. Well, it depends on where we fall from this loss. That might be a blessing, actually.
Speaking of the two seeds, Virginia Tech, Texas, Iowa, and USC.
I like it.
3 seeds, LSU, the defending champs, UConn, NC State, and Oregon State. And then the 4 seeds are Colorado, Indiana, Gonzaga, and Oklahoma.
Gonzaga is interesting. Go ahead.
What happened to Colorado?
They fell off a little bit. I think
injuries.
Yeah.
What is it? Because
they had some injuries. I think they started off I don't want to say overachieving, but hotter than people expected. So when they went kind of leveled out to where we really expected them to be, now everyone's like, oh, they fell off. No, I just think they started a little hotter than what we expected, but also injuries as well. Now look forward to Colorado to coming to the Big 12 next year. I think they will bring some more excitement. Whereas without Texas and OU there, you needed some other teams. Now you're going to have Arizona, Arizona State, but Arizona women's and the Colorado women's is going to bring a lot of excitement to that conference.
So that's
How
the
crazy is
women's.
it that Gonzaga women are ranked higher than the Gonzaga men?
I have nothing to say on that. The fact that Gonzaga's not even ranked on the men's side says a lot.
Right.
They're not even ranked. So
It's crazy to me.
I mean, it might be the year Mark Few need to have a down year. It might been this year. It might been the year he needed to have a down year, and it's
Right.
finally is. I don't know. Speaking of the men, we're going straight though. No break. We're going straight to the men.
All right.
Because look here. This been my theme all season.
Right.
It's been
it has
chaos
been-
on the men's side since the beginning.
It has. In January, they tied for the most upsets. I think that February had a ton of upsets as well. It's been exciting. Now, I've heard a lot of people kind of talking about the men's basketball is having a down year, and I disagree. Now, it might be UConn's to lose. They do seem like the most dominant, but you start getting over there to like the 4th and the 5th and the 6th ranked teams, and you're thinking, okay, Tennessee, Marquette, and then Arizona. And those are the teams that I'm really paying attention to because I feel like those are the ones that are going to make deep playoff runs or deep tournament runs. And I'm really, really rooting for Marquette this year. I would love to see Shaka Smart get over the hump.
Here's my thing. Let's dive inside the chaos in the men's. And why is it not good? Because you have a team like UConn, the
Right.
reigning defending champions. And then they get smoked by Creighton,
Right.
like legit smoked.
Right.
And then they do what they need to do with game day being in attendance, and they smoke Villanova.
Right.
The Creighton team, who smoked UConn, they turn around, they get smoked by St. John's.
Patino's coaching there at St. John's. Is that right?
Yes, he wore he wore an all white suit at the game too.
Right. Yeah.
But
And
St. John's smoked Creighton.
I mean, anytime you have somebody that's a legendary coach like that, like it's the same thing with Popovich and the Spurs. Like, yeah, they're awful. They may not be good. They may only have 2 stars right now. But when you're led by Greg Popovich, you got a chance. And I think that's what happened here.
No, I'm not done. Remember we talked about Duke and Ray Forrest earlier? The game
Right,
before that, they smacked Miami across the head.
Yeah,
Before
Miami's
they
not
got beat by a weight. Oh, I'm not done. I got more. Arizona, anybody?
right.
Washington State walked in there. He handed them an L. They take it out on Arizona.
Right. Yeah. I love
Still
it.
ain't done.
That's
Let's go to
how-
my conference. LSU shocked Kentucky. And by the way, I watched that game. I watched that finish. It was ridiculous.
Right.
I watched it. And then they put on a show against Alabama.
Indeed.
These dudes shot during his 60% from 3. I'm like, you're not supposed to shoot like this in basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, Kentucky was at 100 points with 10 minutes to go in the game.
Right.
That's how crazy shooting they was. I don't know
I
what
love it.
happened at Rupp Arena that Saturday for them to shoot like that.
Sometimes you're on.
And that was coming off a crazy loss to LSU. That happened on a broken play, by the way.
Right.
And speaking of Alabama, before they got smacked by Kentucky, they smacked Texas A&M.
Right.
Who, by the way, I don't see them making the tournament, but they do have some wins over some smack and over some opponents that they smacked too. Up down in College Station, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And so,
And A&M men and women are both kind of rebuilding at the moment.
As you can see here, we got top teams getting smacked and they want to smack somebody else. This is the problem. We have no star players on the men's side, and every team can get smacked whenever they want to.
We were talking about this yesterday, that I think the difference between the men's and the women's is, a lot of the portal is utilized in women's, but not as much as the guys, I feel like. And then also the one and done, like that's not an option in the women's. So a lot of times those teams that are together for longer and they have more of a chance to be more dominant. Whereas in the men's, it's constant. Their rosters are changing so much every single season that we don't get to see these teams build together. So it's just a lot of ISO ball.
And then the week that happened. I'm gonna dive deeper into BYU beating Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, and then we had a critical matchup in the ACC down in Knoxville, and Tennessee defending home court against Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers.
Right.
Creighton smacked Seton Hall, while Seton Hall trying to slide in quietly into the tournament.
Right. Yeah.
And then Alabama handled business against Ole Miss down in Oxford, Mississippi.
I want to talk about the BYU one as well, because this is Big 12 basketball and that's what I cover. BYU was a team that before this win happened, I was asked who is a sleeper team that you think can win the Big 12 championship and get a bid into the tournament. And I think I named BYU because there were some games that I've seen them play that they had. Because look, they've only got 8 losses now, not a ton of go power, not a ton of star power, but they can hand out some big losses, obviously. And to give it to Bill Self and Kansas over there, I love it. Shake it up.
This is what BYU did to Kansas inside Allen Fieldhouse. Yep. They snapped a 82-game home winning streak when Kansas is leading at the half. Kansas was leading at the half. They snapped a 67-game winning streak of Kansas against unranked opponents. BYU, because they suffered a couple of losses, became unranked. Now, some people might think that's unfair that you unranked them at the time they were getting ready to play Kansas, and probably gave them some motivation to do so. And then here's the main one. They snapped the 19 home winning streak of Kansas dating back to last season.
And that's huge. I think that kills a lot of momentum going into the Big 12 tournament. Maybe it puts a chip on their shoulder and they bounce back and they win the Big 12 tournament. But I think they exposed Kansas. I really feel like they did. I think they gave the blueprint on how to pick away at that dominance that is Kansas basketball.
So it's been crazy on the men's side, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the standings for where we stand at right now. UNC is on top of the ACC, but they still have another meeting with Duke to come, and they have some big games coming up. Purdue is leading the way in the Big Ten. If they keep trucking the way that they keep trucking, they should win the Big Ten title.
Right.
As of right now, Houston is on top of the Big 12.
Right.
All they got to do is keep winning, and they will clinch their Big 12 title. First year in the Big 12, too. First year.
Yeah, but you know what? Go look at those losses. Those are all losses within the conference. So I don't think it was as easy as maybe people expected that for them to be. I know they played a tough game against Texas Tech. And go and look at Iowa State. They're right below them. They're only one loss behind them. So Iowa State is really interesting to me as well.
And then UConn, 2 games on Marquette. Might as well make that 2.5 because they beat the brakes off Marquette.
Right.
I was very disappointed. I
Same.
didn't expect Marquette to get destroyed the way that they got destroyed.
Right. Maybe take a loss, but not the fashion in which they lost.
Of course, most people would like to see Arizona win the Pac-12 because they're the most recognizable team in the Pac-12 on the men's side. And then the ACC is up for grabs.
Yeah, for me for the ACC, I feel like UNC looks like they have a slight edge over Duke. And then obviously the kid got injured. He did play on Wednesday, but I think things are still a little shaky. You might have to capitalize on them having a little bit of a lull as far as their talent wise compared to UNC. RJ Barrett has been playing really well, breaking records this season. I I see UNC coming out the ACC.
I'm looking forward to how is the Southeastern Conference going. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Right.
How is that going to be determined? Because that is a lot to look forward to this weekend. Because there's a lot of games. And trust me, I got them on the
Yes.
slate for you. You would know what games to watch. Because I give you the games to watch and whatnot. Now, just like we did with the ladies, here are the teams on the bubble for Joe Lenardi. FAU, last four bye, along with Nevada, Wake Forest, and Virginia. Last four is New Mexico, Gonzaga, Seton Hall, and Providence. Just the simple fact that the last four in and you see Gonzaga's name is there tells you all you
Right.
know. Think about that. The men's Bulldogs, last four in. First four out: Villanova, Utah, Colorado, St. John's. Next four out: Texas A&M, Iowa, Ole Miss, and Kansas State.
So for me, FAU, I feel like they have a chance to make it. And then NMU or UNM, I feel like New Mexico, like they have a really serious chance. I really enjoy watching them. They're about 4 hours away from me, so I get a chance to cover them some as well. And a team that, while they're not in the conference, that's going to make a ton of noise. Obviously, they're the best team in the conference usually. I just like the flow that they have this year.
Okay, all right. So with that being said, that would do it for our college basketball talk. When we come back, we're gonna talk the NBA. And then to close out the show, I got a fucking shout to give out. And it's not gonna be pretty. Just know that. Okay.
All right.
The Playmakers blog is sponsored by Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus, mountains of entertainment. So much to stream. From shows and movies you can only catch here on Paramount Plus, whether it be from CBS, BET, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, and so much more. The new home of Showtime. Watch Showtime original series, movies, and sports when you sign up for Paramount Plus with Showtime. Catch exclusive originals from Paramount Plus such as Star Trek, Strange Wars, The Family Stallones, Halo, and so much more. You also can stream live sports like NFL on CBS, the UEFA Champions League, the Masters, and the SEC on CBS. Paramount Plus, you can stream up to 3 devices when you create an account. So Paramount Plus plan starts at $5.99. If you hit that link below, you can get a free trial. Paramount Plus, mountains of entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Into the Net FC. Kylian Mbappe just all of a sudden finally understood his role, and I think he finally understood that everything Kylian Mbappe has accomplished already, there is still a hell of a lot waiting for him in the future. Kylian Mbappe is only 24 years old. He has accomplished so much, and you know what? Kylian Mbappe has not even reached his prime. Finally seeing, the Marcus Rashford we have been hoping for such a long time, But, this game, after everything Manchester United has been, doing lately, this was actually the ultimate test, to see if Manchester United, honestly was all of a sudden for real. I explained this. The United States, maybe they have to suffer this loss as a lesson to learn to prepare for the future. Because 4 years from now, the World Cup is in not 1, not 2, but 3 countries. The United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. Into the Net FC is available on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shooting the Lights Out with the Queen of Who's Making Price. We got you. We got you college basketball out the way, okay? Because it's March. We know what March is when it comes to college basketball.
Absolutely.
The madness is on the horizon. Even though we can say it's been madness the whole entire season anyway, especially on the men's side.
Right. Definitely. I'm so excited for March. Now that it's here, championship week, and then we're going to slide over to the big tournament. Very exciting. And even the NIT, I keep up with that too. So I know not everybody watches it, but tons of good competition there too.
But now we go to the professionals, the NBA. And we're going to key it off like this. This man here, LeBron James, 9 points away from becoming the first ever player in professional basketball to score 40,000 points.
I think, what can you say about him? Whether you hate him or you love him, you can't deny what greatness he is, what can you really say? I know we're going to talk about the other game, but just what he's doing at this age, nobody has done it. He's an anomaly, and don't expect anybody else to do it because it's only him.
40,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points. I can't even be mad.
I mean, it's insane. And he said that it's looking like he's probably going to get another 2-year deal out of the Lakers. So, that number's going to go crazy even after that.
I would talk about the other situation that I should be mad at him about, but I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to dive into family business, even though you put your family business out there for the whole world to know.
Right.
But I'm going to leave that alone. If you want people to stop, and when you want people to leave Bronny alone, don't say nothing. Do that. Every time you open your mouth, they're going to look at you. Just do that, LeBron. Just shut up. When it comes to your son, just shut up, please. Right, every time you open your mouth about Bronny, that's what you're going to get.
Right. Agree. Bronny had those health issues this year, and it's looking like he's probably not going to come out this year. I think that's best for him. Let him have a full season, healthy, and go from there.
No, that's all I'm saying. Don't get mad at people because they talking about your son, and you the reason why they talking about him. That's
right? Yeah, for sure.
Ain't gonna dive too much into it. This is all I'm gonna say. Now, from one star player to another star player, one that's injured. Joel Embiid plans to return to this season regardless where the Sixers are at. Right. And as of right now, the Sixers are on a downward trajectory. I will show you that a little later in this segment. But the league MVP saying he will be returning this season.
I expect that from him. Now, there was a couple of seasons ago where the crew on the TNT NBA halftime show, so Shaq and Chuck, really had some words about Joel really needing to toughen up. And I think since then, we've really seen that. So I expect him to come back and be that competitor. I have not seen anything out of him where I'm sitting there saying he's not giving it his all. So I expect that from him.
Well, get healthy, Joel, because the Sixers need you right now because they're on the downward trajectory.
Yeah, they're on a 3-7 skid right now, same as New York. Both of them dealing with injuries.
And speaking of Joel Embiid and LeBron James, and if Cole Johnson was here, he'll be putting his head down toward his mic right now because, ladies and gentlemen, we have some confirmations for the 2024 Olympics men's team, headed by LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, the injured Joel Embiid,
right,
and then added just last week, Devin Booker and Jrue Holiday.
I love it. Who did Joel play for before Team USA?
He was his nationality? He was slated to play for France, and then he switched.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because I knew he didn't play for Team USA the last round.
No, he didn't. It was France because the idea was going into Paris because it's in France. Right. France was going to have the largest team in the field because they were going to have Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama,
You know,
and Joel Embiid. It was like, well, darn.
right. I love that they're committing to this now. Last summer in the World Cup, they the FIBA Cup, excuse me, they didn't take the gold, and so that's when everybody started doubling down and saying, "Hey, we're going to be there in Paris." And I love that energy. Get knocked down a little bit, kind of reminded that there's more parity internationally nowadays. And it's not just going to be a cakewalk walking in there and going and getting your gold. Like, you're going to have to work for it. And so I'm glad to see these guys committing. I know last time there were some question marks for some because it was a contractual year. And understandable, you don't want to get hurt during contract year. It's understandable. But it's Team USA, y'all. Like, we got to have some pride.
This ain't Team USA. This Team's Avengers right here.
Right, yeah, definitely.
They around here trying to assemble the Avengers because of what happened at the freaking FIBA World Cup, which I covered, remember?
Right, yes.
I think I was the only one who covered it. But yeah, we covered it, yeah, and all of a sudden, and every time I got done covering it, I said, I was seeing tweets from all them. I'm like, oh Lord.
Right, yeah.
And LeBron started it.
I love it. They need to bring that energy, and we know that this is going to be DT's last international games. And so, have LeBron come in. It's most likely going to be his last one too.
So Team USA is starting to assemble like the Avengers. Good Lord. I can hear Coach Johnson right now throwing up. All right, and Steve Kerr got a 2-year, $35 million extension last week.
Paid. I love this for him. I know there were a lot of people that are saying he's not as good as coach as people were led to believe, that, he took over a team that was already really well put together. We've heard people say that about Spoelstra as well. These teams are not moving on from these coaches. When we're talking the Heat, the Warriors, the Spurs, like, it's not happening. They're not moving on from these coaches. Steve Kerr knows a lot about basketball, y'all, before he was even a coach. He deserved every bit of it, and he's got his work cut out for him this season. But I think that we're going to see a very different team next season.
Congratulations.
And having Clay come off the bench, right move.
It's working so far.
It is working.
Let's see how long it takes, because you do now. The fact that you got Chris Paul back to go all along with Klay Thompson to go to that second unit.
Right, yeah.
It's good to see Chris Paul back on the court. It's been a long time. And by the way, they got a big win, which I'm going to get into in a bit. Yes. But let's go to the Wednesday. We had the Pacers take down the Pelicans when the Pelicans was riding high.
Mm-hmm.
The Mavericks walked into We the North and gave them an L. Oh, look at Dante's birthday, by the way, who happened to get a 30-point triple-double.
Insane. The kid is 25 years old. He's already at number 9 for all-time triple-doubles list. Just insane. Highest scoring game of his career came this season in January with 74 points. What else can you say about him? He's 25, y'all.
And he's the only guy to get a 30-point triple-double on his birthday.
Right. It's crazy.
And he did it in another country.
Right, yeah. I love that.
He did it in Canada. The Bulls slowed down the Cavaliers. Didn't expect that.
The Bulls have been playing. They're a little inconsistent, but they're starting to improve a little bit. DeMar has been playing out of his mind. And so in this game, they had 6 players that were in double digits in scoring, 4 players that had doubles. And I think Andre Drummond had almost 30 rebounds. Insane. I love it. All they need is their point guard, and they'll be okay.
The Nuggets got past the Kings' struggles for the first time this season by pretty much dominate them in the second half.
Yeah, Sacramento's been weird this season as well. Inconsistent, dropping games that they should not be dropping. Now, this is not one of them. Denver is a formidable opponent. So this but losing in that fashion, in that manner, by that much is a little surprising. But Sacramento's been hit or miss this season. They haven't been lighting the beam like they were last season.
The Nuggets needed that because
They
the
did,
other two
yeah.
meetings that Kings got them pretty good too.
Right, right.
The Nuggets
And
needed
PJ
that one.
went off that game.
The Nuggets needed that one. And then the battle for LA, Lakers win. Don't worry, I'm gonna dive more into that later.
Right, yeah. That game was insane, and I didn't get to see the ending of it until the next day. And I went back and watched the entire fourth quarter of that game, just because it was that interesting of a comeback.
Oh, don't worry, I'm diving into that.
Right.
Oh, don't worry. And then last night, my Magics got a good comeback win over the Utah Jazz. Shouldn't have been down to the Utah Jazz to begin with, but nevertheless, we still get the win, so I'm not gonna hold too much against my boys.
I know they've cooled off a little bit compared to the first of the season, but look at those amount of those wins right there. Like, they're definitely making a turnaround. It's just taking time. It's not going to be something that instantly they're that much better the next season. Now they are quite a bit better, but they're not going to be. I don't know that I see them in the second round of the playoffs. They definitely make.
We missing a key veteran. Okay, I ain't talking about a superstar, but a key veteran.
Right, agree.
Somebody who's been there before and can help the young ones move along.
Right, but tons of improvement this year. This is definitely a season that you mark down as a win for Orlando because they've definitely improved a ton.
I'm not complaining.
Right.
Hey, we actually was on TV at one point in time for once.
Right.
I during this shed too that we was on TV. I couldn't believe it. The reason why I got the Brooklyn and Nets beating the Atlanta Hawks on here is because of the standings. Atlanta might want to be careful.
Man, they are slipping and sliding, and for Brooklyn to beat them like that, crazy.
Atlanta might want to be careful. That's all I'm saying. Atlanta might want to be careful. That's only a 3-game difference right there. It's only a 3-game difference.
Hey, DeJounte, you can come home.
And watch him throw alley-oops to the 7'5" guy all day.
You know, you can come home. We'll take you.
I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm a Spurs fan too, so I love Pop. So
yeah.
Woo, boy! Steph Curry did it again at Madison Square Garden.
Right.
He did. What is up with role superstars at Madison Square Garden?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a place that Steph knows very well. And New York, while I think they're a contender, they're only a contender when they have Julius Randle. Julius Randle.
They're not healthy.
They're not healthy. OG will be back in 2 to 3 weeks is what they said. He's had ongoing issues with his foot. He's had these same injuries for a while. And then Julius Randle dislocated his shoulder at the end of January. He needs surgery, but trying to decide if he can just rehab enough to get through the rest of the season. There was some news that came out a couple of days ago saying that his rehab is going well, but just know that he needs surgery, y'all. It's facts of it.
Stephen A. shivering a bit. He's shivering a bit because Knicks are sliding. Knicks are smiling right now. And then we had a finals rematch last night, and Miami gonna beat Miami. You gotta knock Miami out with the Nuggets.
Right. I don't see Miami missing the playoffs, but they're gonna do like they've been doing these last few years. They're gonna slide in at number 7 or number 8 into the playoffs, and then they're gonna be one of the toughest outs in the first round.
So through February's games, this is where we at. Boston still riding high at the number 1 seed. They have an 8-game lead. Good gracious.
They're so good. Boston, and I hate to say that, but Boston is so good.
You got the Cavs sitting at 2nd, the Bucks 3rd, the Knicks still sitting at 4th right now because the 76ers are sliding just as long with the Knicks. Hey, look who's at number 6.
Hey. Yeah, like I said, I think they're a team that makes the playoffs. They might even win their first round, but I don't see them getting past the second round.
Look, just the fact,
making the playoffs is a huge improvement for Orlando.
Just the fact it's the 1st of March, and I get to see the Magic sitting in 6th place right now. I'm good.
Absolutely.
Good job. Pablo Acambra was an all-star. That was crazy. The Magic sitting at 6 to begin the month of March. I'm good. I'm good right now. Pacers at 7. Miami is at 8. Bulls at 9. 10 is the Atlanta Hawks. And remember, I told you they better be careful because guess who's at 11? The team that smacked them already.
Right. Chicago's interesting to me. Now we heard about a month ago that Lonzo Ball was practicing. So hopefully, I don't know that we see him this year. I don't know if they necessarily figure out all their problems, but they do have Kobe White, and I enjoy watching them. And it just seems like they've kind of hit a flow, and I think it took Vucevic coming back. And they've kind of hit their flow the last 2 weeks. DeMar with a crazy layup earlier, or 360 layup earlier this week, kind of emulating a former Bull that we all know and love. It was amazing shot. Loved it. I like what I'm seeing out of Chicago. Really do.
Mm-hmm. And then on the west side, of course, the Timberwolves continue their surprising season with a 1-game lead over the other surprising team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are just ahead of the defending champs of 3rd. The Clippers down in 4th, the Phoenix Suns 5th, Pelicans 6th. And then in your play-in spot, that lineup in the playing spot is just ridiculous. The Mavs,
It is.
the Kings,
So
the
many good
Lakers, and the
teams.
Warriors. Good gracious.
Now, one game that you left off the slate from last night, the Spurs managed to win a game last night. We played OKC. I think this is going to be an amazing rivalry for years to come. You got Chet, you got Wemby versus each other. SGA is just amazing. We were able to get the win by close to 20. We needed that bad. We needed that. We're still the worst in the West, but we needed that bad. So
You ain't worse than the league. That's what matters.
we're not the worst in the league.
You're not worse than the league, so you should be good.
Worse in the West. And that's still painful because, we've had 5 championships in my lifetime.
Hey, you got to come down at some point.
You do. Every dynasty has to fall at some point. And so that's where we're at. We're rebuilding. It's all right.
We got the Jazz lurking around, the Rockets lurking around, and then Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio, even though they are not officially eliminated yet. Them 3 I just don't.
Yeah, no. Memphis has been injured. They haven't had Job. They only had Jaw for what?
A week.
Yeah, a few games. He was suspended the first 25 games, came back for a few weeks, and then he was injured. And then had to have season-ending surgery. So I don't expect anything out of Memphis whatsoever. Houston, their downside has been surprising. They started really hot. They looked very dominant, and not sure what has happened for them not to be clicking the same way, but they just don't look the same as they did in the first couple months of the season.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's been quite a while since I have been able to do this, okay? But this is happening. And I know most of y'all who follow missed this segment, but you're going to get it today. Because it's a time for a fragrant flower to be given out. And this is the first one Miss Price get to see me do. Let's go to the fragrant flower. If you know me, you know who I was coming to get. It was going to be the Los Angeles Clippers. Why? Because that thing that I saw Wednesday night. Now, before I get there, 14 in the West. When they came out of All-Star break, they was the 3rd team in the West. Now they're the 14th in the West because the defending champs have said, we coming for number 1, and everybody else at the Bubbles, Clippers, Thunder, and Wolves better look out. Here come the champs. Now, as you see here, Clippers 10th in points per game, 10th in opponents points per game. Defense is terrible. And sharing the ball is terrible because they're 20th in that too. But let's get to what happened Wednesday night. Do you see this? Do you see this? This is what happened Wednesday night, okay? As you see, the black box is all the quarters that the Clippers won. They won quarter 1, they won quarter 2, and they won quarter 3. The yellow box is the quarter that the Lakers won.
Right.
Who won the game?
Ooh-wee. I mean, Braun really won the game for him, and even so, Braun was defending Kawhi. Kawhi's defense looked subpar in that, or non-existent in that fourth quarter, and Braun was just really mixing it up for Kawhi. Like, definitely defending him very well, putting up a lot of tension between him and the basket, and he proved successful. On top of LeBron, he had 5 threes in the fourth quarter.
I don't get that. I want y'all to look at this. This is the beginning of the fourth quarter because Norman Powell hit a 3 to beat the buzzer at the end of the third. So this is your score at the fourth quarter. Los Angeles Lakers 77, the Los Angeles Clippers 96. Do you see the win probability? That says 99.2. Means the Lakers had a 0.8 chance of winning. And then what happened in the fourth quarter? Miss Megan Price already alluded to it. LeBron James by his darn self.
For sure.
He's by himself. Outdid the Clippers. The Clippers scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. LeBron had 19. The Clippers made 7 field goals out of 17 tries in the fourth quarter. LeBron made 7 field goals out of 12. The Clippers shot 1 for 7 from 3-point range as a team. LeBron went 5 for 8 from 3-point range.
That's insane. What did I say? He's an anomaly. Don't expect it out of anybody else.
And you know what? Excuse me, Miss Megan Price. I'm going to steal a line from a friend that we both know. Give me this camera. Kawhi Leonard, where the hell was you at on Wednesday night? You were on the bench to start the fourth quarter. You saw LeBron James get hot. You came in at the 8:42 mark of the fourth quarter, knowing LeBron was hot. And you was the primary defender on LeBron James. What happened? You kept switching the freaking pick and roll. And allow LeBron to continue to stay hot. You're the claw. You're the reason why LeBron only has 4 championships. You're the reason. 2014, anybody? Who won Finals MVP of that one? Kawhi Leonard. Why? Because LeBron James couldn't do nothing against him.
Right.
LeBron decides to go to LA. Guess who went to LA the same year? Kawhi Leonard. LeBron went to LA. Kawhi went to the Clippers. Why? Because he wanted to beat LeBron James. And then in the final game of y'all two sharing the same arena, which is Crypto.com arena, to most people, it's still Staples Center. You chose not to lock down LeBron. Oh, they doing a pick and roll? All right, Mason Palmer, you get LeBron. No! LeBron hit another 3. All right, I'm going to send another screen. James Harden, you get LeBron James. He hit another 3. It just kept going like, Kawhi, are you not going to say, no, I'm not switching? He going to have to score over me. No, you ain't do that. And then you waited till the Lakers got the freaking lead to finally try to do something on offense. You only took 4 shots in the whole quarter. You ain't take the first one until the Lakers had a 3-point lead. Where was you on offense? If I recall, this is not Paul George's team. This is not James Harden's team. This is not Russell Westbrook's team. This is your team, Kawhi. And where were you in the fourth quarter? Nowhere to be found. Don't believe me? Ask a Spurs fan. Ask a Spurs fan.
Woo. Anytime Kawhi loses, I'm happy now. But also this week we heard that Doc Rivers came out and said that the reason that the Clippers moved on from SGA was because Kawhi wanted PG. Now, I understand, at the time it seemed like the logical thing to do, but now now it really looks like the Clippers traded away their future. So I really feel like you kind of get what you give sometimes, and now it's coming back to bite Kawhi. Now, I don't think that this one game is indicative of how the Clippers really are. We know that they're a 4 seed right now. They are a tough, tough team. And for, about a month ago, they were probably the best team in the West, or were playing as the best team in the West. And you know, you don't have the body and the physicality that you used to have. Whether it's what you said, that muscle degenerative disease that you said that San Antonio missed, or if it's the workload management problems or what the problem is, but you just don't have the same go that you used to have. And the main thing about Kawhi that made him so good is that he was a two-way player. Where was your defense, man? Where was your defense?
Because of you, Kawhi Leonard.
You said it's because of you.
Because of you, Kawhi Leonard, we had to see this.
Yeah. LeBron doing the Lord's work.
This is what we had to see because of Kawhi Leonard decided not to do anything in the fourth quarter.
I love it.
Look, it's one game. I get it. It's one game. But why did that team? Why did that guy? Out of anybody, why him?
Because you can't count him out, and Kawhi counted him out.
When you literally told people you went to LA to beat him, to literally beat him, and you just let him run through your whole team. And LeBron was sitting there like, well, he gonna keep switching. I can keep doing what I've been doing. And then, matter of fact, to make it even worse, who was LeBron guarding in the fourth quarter?
Right, yeah.
He was guarding you, Kawhi Leonard. And you ain't do nothing to respond.
We've seen him shy away from big moments in these last few years.
For once, you're healthy. You're not injured.
Right.
For the most part, Paul George's been healthy until lately.
Right.
James Harden, he's been on the court ever since he got to LA.
And don't forget they got Brody too.
Russell Westbrook been doing his part coming off the bench.
Yeah, y'all can't blame Russ for this one.
But you give up a 21-point lead to him. And the Lakers.
You can never count out LeBron.
Like, that's your biggest rivalry. Y'all, ever since Kawhi Paul George made this happen, y'all been beating up on the Lakers. This year, I don't know what happened. I was excited. I'm like, oh. I'm telling people, I'm finna go home, go out to work, and watch the Clippers whip the Lakers' ass. Which I was doing, which I was enjoying until the fourth quarter happened. Until the fourth quarter happened. I'm like, these boys up 19. I don't know if Ham and LeBron gonna melon in this fourth quarter or not. And I get to sit back and just continue to watch the Clippers dominate. Nah. LeBron decided to put on Superman cape. And Kawhi Leonard didn't want to tug on it.
At all.
And LeBron James just kept shooting. And this is the crazy part. He was shooting threes.
Right.
He wasn't going to the basket. He was shooting threes.
Right.
It's like, okay, at some point, I'm gonna need Kawhi Leonard to say, no, you have to shoot over me and see if you make it there. You shoot over Kawhi Leonard, you make it, it is what it is. Like, Kawhi was there. LeBron was just on it. You got LeBron James shooting over Mason Plumlee, James Harden, Terrence Mann, even Russell Westbrook was getting some. But not the main person who's supposed to be the one defending you, which is Kawhi Leonard. That's my issue. Y'all better get it together, man, because I'm sick of this. All right, I want to find a break where I get myself back together. And then we got some games for you to watch. so you can enjoy the weekend of basketball.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Cowboys Talk. The Dallas Cowboys got exactly what they deserved. Let me say that one more time, because you know it's true. The Dallas Cowboys got exactly what they deserved. Dak Prescott is overrated and he shouldn't be paid, okay? And the same thing with Pollard. I mean, Pollard breaking the tackles at that 57-yard touchdown run. I mean, we needed that big time. 33 points in the fourth quarter. Let me say that again. 33 points in the fourth quarter. And that's off of 4 turnovers committed by the Colts. See, at one point, and the fact that at the end of the third quarter, it was 21-19, and the final score was 54-19. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, that is completely unexpected. Cowboys Talk is available on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
The Playmaker Spot is sponsored by Lids. Locker Rooms by Lids. Shop hats and official sports gear at Lids. Lids, the leader and number one destination for hats, gears, and everything that moves you. Make it a perfect shop for fans to find official sports hats, merchandise, and gears. Represent your team, your town, and your style with a snapback, adjustable, fitted hat, or beanie from thousands of college and professional teams. Browse the very latest jerseys and t-shirts for the best teams out there. Lids has officially licensed professional and college sports teams apparel and hats featuring the hottest brands and trends. Shop online or visit one of the 100 stores across the country. Locker Rooms by Lids.
LA Ram fans all over the nation, LA Ram fans all across the world. It took 21 years, but hey, the Rams are Super Bowl champions once again. Down at the Playmaker Silence here, longtime Ram fan, and the host of the All LA Rams podcast called Ramley Talk. On Ramley Talk, I tell you how it is, the good, the bad, the indifferent. Coming with straight facts, with raw emotion, and authentic viewpoint on the Los Angeles Rams. Don't matter what era you grew up in, it could be the Fearsome Foursome era, the greatest show on turf era, and of course, the Super Bowl 56 champions that are currently the Rams. You can listen to Ramley Talk on all streaming platforms including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. So subscribe now and get all the content that you can get on the LA Rams. Horns up, Rams house. It's LA Rams football. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shooting Lights Out. Miss Price, how did you feel about your first Fragrant Foul?
All right.
You enjoy Fragrant Foul? This is what I go through.
Oh yes, definitely enjoyed it. You got to call him out sometimes, and I love calling Kawhi out, so love it.
All right, before we get out of here, we got games for you for this weekend as we begin the month of March. Starting tonight in the NBA slate, we got a good one here. The Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, the game after his birthday when he went for a 30-point triple-double. He's in Boston.
Right.
Take on the best team in all of the association, the Boston Celtics. That should be a fun one to begin the ESPN doubleheader tonight. At 8 p.m., you got the Sacramento Kings and the Twin City take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Also at 8, the Indiana Pacers and Pelicans meet again, but this time down.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Down in the Big Easy. And then the second of your doubleheader on ESPN at 10 p.m. at the Mavs Celtics, you have the Milwaukee Bucks going against the Chicago Bulls.
Look for Chicago to win that one closely.
Oh, she's picking. She's telling y'all Chicago's going to win. Ooh.
Telling you.
Oh, Giannis and Dame as they starting to figure it out.
I don't know. I don't know that I would call it figuring out. They are sitting at number 3. I don't want to discredit them too much, but I like what Chicago's been doing lately. They look like they have more continuity.
All right, Saturday tomorrow. College basketball got a good lineup for y'all. beginning at 12 with my Florida Gators traveling to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Well, this win is a must-needed win for either. Well, I won't say must-needed win for either team because either team. Well, I feel like both teams gonna make the tournament regardless. But I would love for my Gators to smack up South Carolina real good tomorrow afternoon, and then continue to pat that resume that looks good with the Kentucky win, a beat down over Auburn, and then you add South Carolina to the list too. Good luck. That's it. At 1. Miss Price said it earlier. Big 12. ABC. You got an ABC game.
Any given night on the Big 12, that competition is going to be fierce.
Kansas is at Waco to take on Baylor.
I got a feeling Baylor wins this one.
Baylor gets revenge, Miss Price says.
Yeah.
From the Big 12 to the Big 10 on the Big 10 network at 1 p.m. The 13 ranked found the 9 out of Illinois. They are in Madison, Wisconsin to take on the up and down Wisconsin Badgers.
The way this season is going, expect an upset somewhere. I'm not sure if it's this game, but it could happen.
2:30 on Fox, Marquette and Creighton. Oh my gosh.
This is probably the game of the day. I'm going for Marquette, but Creighton's been playing really good.
Oh my gosh. Creighton and Marquette do battle. Ooh, man.
Love it.
That's gonna be crazy. At 4 p.m. on ESPN2, Mississippi State travels to the jungle to take on the 11 ranked the Auburn Tigers. Don't sleep on the Bulldogs.
Yeah, like what I was saying, there's going to be an upset somewhere on this slate, maybe 2. And this is one of the ones where there could possibly be an upset. Now, Mississippi State is not ranked, but look at those records right there. They're not far off.
I did say they had a great slate for you because that's part 1. Part 2. UVA is at Cameron Indoors, 6 p.m. on ESPN. If Duke can get to 60, they're a win. If they can get to 60, they're a win. Because somehow, some way, UVA, any Tony Bennett team is going to play defense.
Right, yeah.
If they can get to 60, because North Carolina, they went to UVA and they handled business. Can Duke do the same thing to UVA and Cameron Indoor? We shall see. And then ESPN2, we're going back to Mrs. Price country of the Big 12. The number 1 team in the land, the Houston Cougars, traveling to Norman, Oklahoma. And
all right, Cougs, y'all do Texas a solid and beat OU.
But it's not going to be easy.
No.
It's never easy going to Norman.
Never. As we see.
And also at 8 p.m. on Fox, Tom Izzo. He has an opportunity to do what he does best. It is March.
Right. It is March. It is Tom Izzo. We know, obviously, Purdue only has 3 losses. But they just have a habit of disappointing sometimes. So this could be that game.
If Tom Izzo wins this one, oh, my gosh.
Right. Yeah. Definitely going to quiet a lot of people. I've heard that there are people that want Tom to move on from Michigan State. I think y'all are insane.
If Tom Izzo wins this game at Purdue, I'm telling you what's gonna be said. Oh, it's March. Here comes Izzo.
Right.
There's no better way to start off March by knocking off number 2 in the country. Good gracious. The game of the week is in SEC country, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 8 p.m. ESPN. The 4th ranked Volunteers versus the 14th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. The winner of this game gets the inside track to the regular season title.
I look to Tennessee to win this one, but it's going to be a close game.
Rick Barnes versus Nate Oates. That's going to be a fun one.
Definitely.
That's going to be a fun one. And then Gonzaga. Oh, Gonzaga is ranked. But somehow it don't feel like that way. And they are taking St. Mary's. Speaking of rivalries.
Right, yeah. Huge rivalry game right here. St. Mary's is ranked higher this year, which is kind of strange. I don't think Gonzaga gets the upset. I'm sticking with St. Mary's.
Mark View, if this still your conference, and you still run the West Coast, good team. Go ahead and do what you got to do. Beat St. Mary's. If not, we understand that St. Mary's is a different team.
Right.
That's the men's slate. What a hell of a slate that is on Saturday.
Absolutely.
But the women got a slate they on too on Saturday. TCU's going to Mountaineer Country to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers. Well, they are no longer called West Virginia no more, unfortunately.
They, TCU had a hot start, and then had an unimaginable amount of injuries and had to have tryouts mid-season. They have a young lady who plays volleyball that came over to play basketball as well. West Virginia's strong. I don't see TCU winning that matchup.
That's at 1 p.m. At 3 p.m. on Saturday. Pac-12 action. The Colorado Buffaloes trying to get themselves back together, but here come Wazoo. Come rolling in the boulder.
I think Colorado gets this one in dominant fashion.
And then at 5 p.m. on the Big 12 Network, the Big 12 regular season champions, the Oklahoma Sooners, they traveling to Island Fieldhouse to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas needed as they are on the bubble line.
Right. And Kansas is a very interesting team. They have some solid wins out there. I think Kansas could get the upset.
Speaking of the bubble line team, the Arizona Wildcats down in the Pac-12, they're on the bubble line, and here comes UCLA.
Arizona beat Stanford last week with 7 players, y'all. Don't discount them.
If they on the bubble line after beating Stanford, they would be in the field if they beat UCLA.
Oh, yes, definitely.
That is that crazy slate for college basketball. We got games all over for men and women to watch. But the NBA got you covered for that Saturday as well. Remember I told you that the Hawks need to be careful? But guess what? Right. They get the running back with Brooklyn, this time in Brooklyn.
Right.
If Brooklyn wins that game, oh boy.
I'm rooting for Brooklyn. I want DeJounte to come back home.
And then at 5 p.m., the Jazz complete their Florida road trip as they take on the Miami Heat down in South Beach. Miami looking to bounce back after losing to the defending champs out there in Colorado. Let's see if Jimmy Butler and the company can do their thing.
I think they win this one, but Utah is not just a god-awful team. They're all right. It's not going to be just an easy win, but I think Miami wins it.
And then your Saturday night showcase, 8:30 ABC, the reigning defending champs. They are back in LA. They take on LeBron James as he will eclipse for 40,000 career points. And this one, and guess what? It's going to be the same thing as the last time the Nuggets was in there. Because remember, the last time, the Nuggets was the team that the Lakers played on Kobe Day.
Right, yeah. Well, I don't not know why they scheduled it like that. I see Denver winning.
So I can have the defending champs just go ahead and beat the Lakers on historic nights.
Right.
Which works for me.
Right.
And then to close out the Saturday slate for all basketball, let's go to the desert, the valley, as the Phoenix Suns host the Houston Rockets. Phoenix, don't play
Phoenix,
around.
even without Beal, they are still finding a way to win key games. So, and Houston just does not look the same. So I'm going with Phoenix.
I'm saying Phoenix, don't play around. Don't mess around and get caught by Houston.
Right. True that.
All right, Sunday, we got women's college basketball on Sunday. And the Lady Vols are the last team standing in the way of a perfect regular season of the South Carolina game card. That is 12 p.m. on ESPN Sunday afternoon.
I don't see Tennessee beating South Carolina.
The game of the day is at 1 p.m. on Fox as the Big Ten regular season champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, they are traveling to Hawkeye country, Iowa City, to take on Clayton Clark in her final game in front of the Hawkeye faithful.
This is, like I said, we were talking about earlier. I think that Iowa wins this matchup at home, and then in the conference tournament, we get our third matchup with them again.
Oh, and by the way, Clayton Clark will be passing Pete Maravich in this game. Just to let y'all know.
Right.
She's gonna drop. She might
17
drop it.
points. I said 18. She's 17.
She might drop 18 in the first half by herself. That's the
She
best.
might. It's possible.
Even though Ohio State's the regular season champion, she just might drop 18 in the first half because if I believe Caitlin Clark, the type of player that she is, she's gonna remember that L that she took in Columbus.
Oh, yes. Agree. And it was an overtime loss, so I know that stung.
And that was prepared Ohio State to go on the run that they went on. And Iowa to struggle a bit in conference play. But we're not done that. 2 p.m. on ESPN. We got Louisville going against Notre Dame.
Louisville's fallen off some, and Notre Dame just seems, no matter what the injuries they have, they just seem so tough. I'm going with Notre Dame.
And then finally, Assembly Hall, 3 p.m. on the Peacock. Indiana is hosting Maryland, and Maryland's on the bubble line.
Yeah, this is a rebuilding team or year for them. They haven't quite been the same since Angel left, and I don't know if this is the last year that we see that coach there, but I think it's a possibility.
And that's the women's slate on Sunday. The NBA got you covered on Sunday as well. The 76ers, they try to hope they slide losing streak here, but they are in Big D to take on Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks at 1 p.m. on ABC.
Look for Dallas to bounce back this game. I don't see them beating Boston, but they're going to beat the Sixers.
Speaking of Boston, that's the second of the ABC that they have at 3:30. We have a NBA Finals rematch from 2 years ago. Steph Curry returns to the scene where he became Finals MVP as he takes on Jason Tatum and the leading Boston Celtics.
Ooh, I don't see Golden State winning this one. Boston is just hitting on all cylinders.
And then at 3:30 at the same time, at the Twin City of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Timberwolves continue to try to hold on to the 1 seed of the West. And here come the freaking Clippers.
I would love for Minnesota to win, but I think maybe the Clippers kind of bounce back as well.
You think the Clippers going to bounce back?
It's a possibility.
After what?
I know they are getting criticized really tough right now.
After what I had to go through Wednesday.
Right.
And speaking of a team that's sliding right now, the New York Knicks, they try to hope they slide as they take the trip to the land to take on Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers 7 p.m. on ESPN.
Cleveland has been playing hot, but then they got smacked a couple nights ago. So this is New York's best chance to kind of get on a little bit of a run without Julius. So I'm going to take New York.
She's going to New York. And the final game to close out the weekend of all the types of basketball that you can watch. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder travel to the Valley to take on Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns.
OKC gets hot, and they beat Phoenix in a really close one, like a 5-point differential.
So those are your key games to watch. That's a lot of basketball to watch.
Indeed. Best time of year.
It's the best time of the year. It is March. You have a whole lot of slate. It's the final weekend of the women's. Because after this weekend, they'll be going into Champs Week.
Yes.
And then
super excited for the women's conference tournaments. And even these last few games, very exciting season. Really enjoyed it and super excited for these other tournaments.
For the men, this is the week before the final week for the men. So after this weekend, they'll be going into their final week of the regular season before they jump into conference tournament play. And then in the NBA, it's the straight push for the postseason. LeBron James is going to hit 40,000 career points, but the Nuggets are going for the 1 seed. So many stuff going on in the NBA. It's a lot of basketball to watch, all right? So, yeah, those are the games for you to keep an eye on. Now, as we close up shop today, Miss Megan Price, I'm going to give you the camera for your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are, make sure you check out the women's tournaments this season. Like we talked about, this is probably going to be the last relevant Pac-12 tournament for quite some time, unless they're able to save their conference. I think that's going to be an incredibly competitive one. Also, the Big 12 is going to be a very competitive conference tournament as well. And whenever you're promoting your bracket challenges this year, remember the women's bracket is there.
Very, very good point. Very good point. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to say nothing else. Y'all know what month it is. Y'all know what time it is. Just watch your basketball. Get ready. Get ready. Because on St. Patrick's Day, it's Election Sunday. Just know that. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day. So you can wear green and get ready to see who you're going to be picking to fill out your brackets.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be and it's going to be an unpredictable time too.
Yes, definitely.
So thanks to the Cream and Hoops for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Finally got you back on shooting lights out.
Yes.
You got to cover a lot of information today.
Indeed.
So, until next time, that is the Queen of Hoops, Megan Price. I am the Playmaker. I'll be catching y'all most likely on Wednesday of next week to talk some more basketball, to see what we're going at with all this that's happening right now. Until then, I bid y'all do. Have a good one.
Good. You've done great. But you can't stop here. You can't stop now. You gotta keep going. Through all your trials and your tribulations, you gotta keep pushing. Now, finish your canvas.
Yeah, gotta get it out the mud, that's the only way to win. Who am I to point the finger like I never ever seen? Been through the ups and downs like the letter N. They don't let you through the door, better kick that again. Cause that's the only way to win. That's the only way to go. Gotta get it out the mud. Gotta get it out the floor. Cause that's the only way to go. Let's go.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you want to follow the podcast, you can follow it on all streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and a whole lot more. This has been Shooting Lights Out.